it play and call it work.
MiniWarGamer Dave here from MiniWarGaming.com, here with Dave Sanders at Warhammer World. It's very, very exciting. Creator of Shadespire, standing beside me in the flesh. How are you doing today?
I'm very excited to be here.
Excellent. And by the way, Benedict Cumberbatch, I'm looking at him, so hi, nice to meet you.
I've never had that one before.
Never once have you heard that before in your life.
I have never
right?
had that before.
I really liked you in Smog. You did a very good voice.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Cheers.
Oh, yeah, Doctor Strange as well. Very good. Yeah. Are you going to create a portal for us and go to another dimension?
Stay tuned.
All right, so Shadespire. Tell me about Shadespire. Tell me about the game that you gave me and Matt a demo on at the last convention that we were at, which was Nova, I believe.
It was Nova, yeah. That was quite an experience. We'll get into that. Yeah, so Shadespire, it's a game that I'm really proud of. It is something that's a bit different for Games Workshop.
Now, it's your baby.
It is.
You created it.
Yes. Lots of other people were involved as well. Yes. So, you know, we had loads of input from everyone else in the Book and Box Games studio. We had loads of artists working on it. We had loads of playtesters involved. Like, it is the game that it is because of the number of people that put, you know, all of that time and love into making it the game it is. But we're all very proud of it. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you were to describe the game for somebody who's never heard of it before, how would you describe it?
It's a fast-paced tactical combat game set in an arena. So you've got your warband that you bring along, you've got objectives that you're trying to score that your opponent doesn't know about, you've got power cards that will help you achieve that, but basically you're going to chuck your fighters in there, try and take out the other fighters and get as much glory as possible in a very short game.
Did you just say glory?
Yeah.
Like corn type of glory?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So close combat glory?
Close combat glory is the best kind of glory.
I agree with you.
Yeah. But you can score glory points for doing all sorts of different things, and it's themed by your warband. So your Cornblood Reavers love charging in there and killing and getting killed. Your Stormcast Eternals are more about making sure that the city is pure of any horrible chaos taint and surviving as best they can.
Horrible chaos taint?
That's their words, not mine.
I see. Just quoting.
Yes, exactly.
That's not actually how you feel.
Himself, yes.
Oh, Sigmar.
Yes, yeah.
So, now when I look at the models, I gravitate to the corn side of things just a little bit. I'm a little bit biased. Yeah, and I love close combat so much. So, what is something that would draw a person such as myself to play the Stormcast, for example? Why should I play them as well?
All right. Well, each warband's got its own particular style, and they all play very differently. And it's a lot of fun trying out what different things they can all do on the table. So quite often when someone plays another warband for their first time, they're caught really off guard because of how differently they play to the one they're used to using. So we've had people get very excited about the Iron Jaws and the Sepulchral Guard that have just come out. They're unfamiliar, and they've got different tactics and tricks and weaknesses to the warbands that come in the core set. So really it's just about trying out all of them, trying out those different unique tricks that they've got and finding which ones suit you best, really. Yeah.
So if I'm an orc player...
tricks or...
Yeah, because I saw the models. Yeah. I was in the reception and I saw the models in the cabinet, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty sweet.
So the orcs are great all-rounders. They're tough enough to play a holding objective game, but also they really like to get stuck in, which is what orcs want to do. So you can wade in there. You can go all out with Gerzag, your leader. Just stack loads of upgrades on him and just have him harvest the enemy warband, or you can spread it around a little bit and try and make sure that you've got quite a few damage dealers that you can rely on to get the job done.
Did you just say harvest the enemy warband?
Yeah.
Because these are words that make one happy.
Oh yeah. No, he's when he gets on a roll, it's just absolutely magnificent. It really is. Yeah.
So what goes through your mind when you're creating a game system? Because the mechanics and things of that nature, it was in your mind, right, when you were creating these things? Is that right? Is that accurate?
Yeah. So how this all got started was we were given the miniatures by the miniatures team. They were originally intended to be just these sort of push fit, booster expansions to your existing unit. So you'd get those extra 5 Blood Reavers and add them to your existing unit of Blood Reavers and Age of Sigmar. But we were like, no, let's make a game out of this. They're way too cool just to be little add-ons. So we were looking at the miniatures and trying to work out what sort of game would suit them. And because of the small numbers of the warband in each warband and how characterful each miniature is, it led quite naturally towards the arena combat between small groups of fighters. And then we were thinking, we had a really exciting meeting right at the start of the project, where a group of us got round and just like chucked around a whole bunch of ideas about what could be involved. Things like the board sections that you can set up, like offset or against each other, reversible boards, different decks of cards to maybe give you objectives or power cards, very much like are in the finished game. Like loads of stuff came out in that initial meeting.
Is there any sort of like inspiration from other games that you grab from when you are creating this game, or when you were creating this game, or was it all?
No.
There was nothing tainting your creative process, or were there inspirations from other games?
No. It all came from the miniatures, from that first discussion about what sort of game we wanted it to be. So, like we obviously have an awareness of the other games that are in sort of a similar arena, but this was a game that we wanted to be absolutely its own. And that was what we were trying to do right from the offset. Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, in addition to being part of the creation of Shadespire, you also had your hand in the creation of the Chaos Index when 8th edition came out.
Yes, that's true.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? I say Chaos Index because this is the one that speaks to me a lot.
Yeah. That is going back a little while for me now, but I'll do my best. That was a really exciting time to be working in the studio. We had a new game system, and we were looking at everything in the Warhammer 40,000 range and thinking, okay, we know what this does in 7th. What should it do in 8th? Should that be a direct port from 7th, or should we actually look at it again and go, this has not really had justice done to it by the rules in the past, and the Chaos Defiler is probably the one that I'd point to there. It in the past it just wasn't quite as cool as it could be.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, and when we got to 8th, we were like, this is our chance. Let's actually make this the horrifying crab monster beast that it should be. And yeah, that's what we did.
So Deffy thanks you very much, by the way, for that.
Oh, well, yeah, welcome. Yeah.
That's amazing. So that in particular, I did not know. Now, I knew you had your hand in all the rest of it, but that one,
Yeah.
I think you said that just for Deffy, and like that's pretty amazing.
Sorry, just
Yeah, that's really amazing. What you just said,
Okay.
that made me so happy. I don't even know if you know how happy that made me.
No, dear. But it's so there aren't as many units that I could pull out as examples of that sort of rethink in the Chaos Range as in, say, Tyranids or Tau, where some units got like a serious upgrade, basically, based on where they come from and where they should actually be when you look at the models.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's probably some things that you're less happy about, but yeah.
Well, okay. So, what's your process when you look at how do you do it? Do you set models up and?
Yeah. It was one of the most joyous bits of doing the index books. For example, when we did Tyranids for Index Xenos 2, we got out the whole Tyranid range and we lined them up from smallest to biggest, and we were like, okay, well, that's where it goes from toughness 5 to toughness 6, and that's where it goes from 10 wounds to 12 wounds, and just making sure that everything actually looked the way it should. That's why the Carnifex strength went down, because historically the Carnifex has been this sort of massive strength, punchy beastie thing, but the range has moved on so far since the Carnifex came out that really it's a middleweight in the Tyranid range. And you look at some of the bigger monsters and go, no, they're the ones with strength 9. That's where it all came from. Yeah.
So, is it like rule of cool?
Yeah. It's always rule of cool.
Hold down, hands down, that 100%. That's how you do it. It's just.
Yeah. So we work out what the model should do based on, how it looks, what we know about it from the background. We go, okay, how do we represent that in the rules? And then for match play, we point it appropriately. So we don't go, okay, well, we want this one to fit into the power rating 5 bracket, which means that we won't give it an ability like this. We'll just give it an ability like this. We don't do anything like that. We go, what is what are the rules that make this as cool as it should be? We write those, and then we work out how much that costs.
Thank you for making the Lord of Skulls less points.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
That kind of does really well for business. I'm not going to lie.
Well, that's not really our side of things. I can't really talk about that.
No, that's fantastic. So I would ask you if there's anything in the future, but you probably can't tell me. So
Right.
is there what's your favorite aspect of your job?
Oh wow. It's when I get to work on something that has never had rules written for it before. So Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire is a great example of that, completely new system. But then working within our existing systems, writing the battle tome for Caradon Overlords was a blast. Because it was an entirely new army, and like getting to go, all right, well, how do flying boats work in Age of Sigmar? Like it was just so much fun.
So what else have you worked on in the past that's already been published and created that you could tell us about?
Codex Tyranids, Battletome, Caradon Overlords, Battletome, Stormcast Eternals. You've already mentioned the NX books. Trying to think. There's been quite a lot.
That is quite a lot right there.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. We've got usually about a 6-month gap between us finishing work on something and it hitting these shelves. And actually, we work on so much that sometimes it's a surprise when a new book comes out and we're like, oh yeah, I did that. Yeah, it's yeah.
Is that like
It's always busy, but it's very fulfilling.
Is that a bit of a mind trip because you work so hard on something for such a long time and then you kind of have to let it rest, and then so much later it comes out and then you're like, oh right, I did put my heart and sweat and tears in this. And
Yeah, it's really nice actually, because when you've got that period of separation, and then you pick it up again, you're rediscovering things that you did. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, that goes with that, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Now, do you also write lore and descriptions of like everything? Is it just the mechanics that you work on? Is it is that included?
So we've got a writing team in the book and box game studio that is split into rules writers and background writers. We work together on everything we do, but our job description is the same. Basically, we're trying to express the lore, either through nice stories and box outs and things like that, or through the rules. So we work together on that. We talk about what each unit should be doing, and how that fits into the universe it's in, whether that's Warhammer 40,000 or Age of Sigmar, or and it's a very collaborative process. Caradon Overlords was a really good example of that. I was working on that with Jeremy Vitok, and we had loads of conversations back and forth about how the code works, and like what the different Skyport cities were like, and how the weapons worked, all that sort of thing. Yeah. So I don't actually write any of the background sections like that, but what I do informs them, and what they do informs what I do. So yeah,
That makes sense. So when you play a game of Shadespire, for example,
Yeah.
is it surreal? Is it kind of like an out of this world? I'm playing my own game against somebody who I'm going to probably destroy because I know all the rules.
It has been amazing, actually. So Shadespire, I was working on for longer than for most projects, because we wanted to have it so thoroughly tested and like ready to go into a tournament environment. So yeah, working on it for so long with components that literally I just like cut out and played with, and then seeing the finished product with all of those, the lovely cards and the tokens and all of that, and like walking into my friendly local game store and seeing people playing it. Yeah, it is a head trip. It's amazing. I really am very proud of it. But
do you ever have people not believe you? It's like, yeah, I made that game. Like, no, there's no way.
that did happen to me a couple of times at Nova. Yeah. But it's not like I'm going in and saying, "Hey, guess who wrote it?" As I said, there were so many people who worked on the game that like it feels fraudulent to take all that credit for it. Like without the hundreds and hundreds of playtest games, it wouldn't have ended up where it is.
So since there was that big team of people, how is it determined that it is your name that's on it?
I wrote the rules. Lots of people play tested them, but every rule in there is one that I wrote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
That's the end of that story.
Yeah.
So are you going to show up in Infinity War?
Sorry. In
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
So okay, conventions in the future. We'll probably see you at conventions.
I think I'll be at LVO. Yeah.
Yeah. Running Shadespire tournaments.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, really excited about that. We had the Blood and Glory one in the UK. That went really well. Really exciting. Just being in the room with all of those people playing it, and generally like getting all the rules right. It was very nice. Yeah.
Well, it helps when you're there too to help them get the rules right.
Yeah. We had a good team there. Yeah.
Do you ever get your own rules wrong?
No.
One should hope not.
That's not true. I do sometimes forget my own rules. Yeah.
There's so many of them. It kind of makes I can see how that would happen.
Yeah. I would never play a game without having the rulebook to hand. And that goes for Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire as well. Like, I know it inside out, but I still, when I'm called up on something, I want to be able to go, no, it does say that here. Yeah. Just for that peace of mind. Yeah. And
not just because I say it does, because I wrote it originally, but it does actually say it right here.
There is actually a little clause hidden in there that says Dave Sanders wins every game. But you got to look quite carefully for it. Yeah. Well,
it kind of makes sense. If you created all the armies and everything. It's like no matter who wins, you win.
Yeah. No, as we have a saying in Games Workshop, which is that the hobby wins, and that is just so true with Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire. Like,
is that what losers say when?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm often the loser, so I'll stick to that. It's fine. I don't mind losing my own game.
I think that's hustle talk. It's like, yeah, I'm usually the loser, and they play you and you destroy them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when you're playing games, and what's the favorite type of player that you play against?
It really depends what I'm doing. Like when I'm playtesting, generally speaking, I want to be playing against someone who is going to try it and tear me apart. Like they're going to squeeze everything they can out of every possible rule, and we've got people who play like that in our playtesters, and it's absolutely essential.
That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
Get a guy who loves everything. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's not what I need right now. I need you to break this rule to see where the inconsistencies are, right?
Yeah. I don't want people just saying, "Hey, this is great." Yeah. I mean, it's nice to hear, but not that useful.
What's your favorite 40k army?
Ooh, orcs.
Orcs. What about the orcs do you like so much?
They are having a blast. Everyone in Warhammer 40,000 pretty much is having a horrible time, apart from the orcs. They are loving it. Like, it's just the best place to be. Like, a whole galaxy of war. Yes, please, sign me up. Like,
what's your orc name?
So my favorite war boss is Tusker Demon Killer.
Demon Killer?
Yeah, I know. But like,
had to bring it there.
The thing is, right? He and Khorne have reached this kind of understanding. All right. So Tusker Demon Killer. This is existing. This isn't my headcanon. This is part of 40k lore, right? Tusker Demon Killer leads this war into the warp, finds a planet which is very Khornate, goes up against like infinite Khorne Legion, gets chopped to pieces. But Khorne was there going, "Oh yes, very good," and brought him back. So him and his whole war just keep on coming back and fighting for the delight of Khorne and obviously themselves. They're in orc heaven, right? They just get to fight over and over for eternity, like endless battle. Yeah, what could be better?
So that means they're huge then, because orcs get bigger when they fight more, right?
Well, we haven't necessarily said whether they come back like exactly the same as they were when they died, or if they actually bulk up because of all those battles. That's a little bit of a grey area, but it's a good question. Yeah.
So, okay, favorite Age of Sigmar army?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've been thinking I've been trying to decide which Age of Sigmar army to start next. So I've got a Death One at the moment, which I really like, led by Neferata. But yeah, it's
Gesundheit.
sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. But I'm really tempted to get some Stormcast Eternals. Yeah.
Is it because Sigmar wants this?
Sorry, because Sigmar.
Wants it.
Yeah. Well, of course he wants it.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, player versus painting. How much do you paint? How much do you play?
I do play more than I paint.
So, percentage-wise, what would you say?
Well,
80-20?
because of how long it takes me to paint, it's still like 50-50. I am a really, really slow painter, but I won't play with unpainted miniatures. So my armies grow very gradually, but it means that I get lots of play out of each unit. Yeah. Yeah.
So is there anything in general that you could say to the audience without giving anything away to look forward to? What would you say to them as a sign-off?
That there is lots more to see for Warhammer Underworlds.
And where should they go to find these things?
WarhammerUnderworlds.com. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Happy Wargaming. Stay tuned for more interviews from Warhammer World.